Hey everyone, welcome back to Pick Six, the NFL betting preview show out of the Fell Football Podcast. Week 15 of the NFL regular season truly has flown by. Not sure how we got here, but we are here now. My name is Ollie, and I am not joined by my co-host Liam this week, so it'll just be a 10 to 15 minute yap session from yours truly. I also forgot to save the picture with the results on from last week, but I was 2-3-1 with the Dolphins pushing, and Liam was 3-3. So it was basically a push week. Um, and yeah, without too much more, I will just dive straight into my picks with the explanations, and then I'll read Liam's, and then we'll go from there. So, up first, week 15 to kick us off. I'm taking a pick in my Broncos game. I'm taking the over of 43. My initial sort of gut feeling towards this game was that if the total was lower than 45, I'd take the over. So here we are. I think it has moved up slightly. It might be at 44 now. It's a must win for both teams. The Colts really need it. The Broncos could definitely use it. I just can't really see it being all that cagey. Broncos defense, although it has been really good this year, it's struggled a little bit recently with explosives. And with Riley Moss not expected to play, I do think that there is potential for Colts deep passing to get into gear this game. And they could be getting a few pieces back on the O line. So we'll find out more in the next couple of days regarding injuries. But yeah, I think this total will be a lot closer to 50 than it is to 40. So happy with 43, happy with 44, probably be happy with 45 as well. Can see it being in the range of sort of 30, 27, that sort of range. Yeah, taking the over Broncos versus Colts. Next up, got the Minnesota Vikings minus -6.5. The Vikings punished a team last week that loves to beat themselves up in the Atlanta Falcons, and they gift wrapped another team who love beating themselves up at home in the divisional clash this week. Chicago, Minnesota are just a much better team than Chicago. I believe they've lost every away game this year, or they've won one. They were a lot stronger at home than they were away. And the Vikings, 5-0 at home in the last five, 6-1, sorry, in their last seven at home. So they've been really strong at home. They battered the Falcons last week. I just can't really see the Bears providing too many shocks here. The O-line's not good enough. Defense has waned. Team basically on the brink of nothingness, irrelevancy, even though they have the number one pick in Caleb Williams. Yeah, just think this is going to be a case of good team beating a bad team and fancy them to do it by more than a touchdown. So Vikings -6.5. Final game pick. This is the a slightly concerning one because I'm taking an under involving the Bengals against the Titans, which is 47. And there's definitely potential for this one to get out of hand just because of how the Bengals offense can move the ball down the field. But Titans' home games this year historically have been very low scoring. There's not been a game over 45 points, and I think three or four have gone under 30. And the Titans just don't give up a lot of yardage in general. I mean, Ja'Marr Chase, offensive player of the year for me, is neck and neck with him and Saquon. They've both been very good. I think Saquon will win it just because the Eagles' record is 11-2, and obviously the Bengals, I believe, are 4-9 or 5-8. So yeah, 47 feels like a few too many here. It's going to be an emotional game as well, I'm sure, for Brian Callahan up against his old side, where he was defensive coordinator. He's going to be watching a lot of his old pieces, trying to go to work. He's going to have to figure out how to stop him. But yeah, I do think this one will be kept probably within one score, like a lot of Bengals games this year. I believe they have 11 one-score games this year, and I think they're losing record in a lot of them. Was tempted by the Titans plus the 5 at home. Thought over a field goal would be about fair, but yeah, I do believe that this one's going to be a little bit cagier than perhaps people think. So yeah, Titans versus the Bengals under 47. Moving swiftly on, I'm taking another under, and now unders have not been all too kind to me this year, so potentially a bit of a gaff, but I'm taking Devon Achan's under of 49.5 rushing yards. He's gone under this in four of his last five, and I just don't really see a way the game state can play out where the Dolphins end up running the ball a lot. Their rushing offense is really, really bad. Since week nine, they have the worst EPA per play, which is expected points per play in the league at minus point 0.3, which means every three times they rush the ball, they're basically losing a point, which is crazy to think about. And in that time frame, their drop back EPA per play is the best in the league. So having a lot of joy throwing the ball, not a lot of joy running the ball. And Achan's been good in these games, but he's been good receiving. He's been, like a safety valve for Tua, sort of those manufactured screens and whatnot. Um, and yeah, Miami, they're top 10 in the league for pass attempts per game, and that includes playing with whoever they trotted out while Tua was on IR. Was it really Tim Boyle in that time? I feel like he got some games on. Maybe that was the Jets. Um, Either way, yeah, like I said, Achan's much better in the receiving game. Mostert may be back as well, Raheem Mostert, which would give the Dolphins another avenue to run the ball. But he only averages around 12 carries a game at the moment anyway, and he's getting a pretty paltry 3.9 yards per carry. So Devon Achan, explosive talent, but I do think he's going to go under his rushing total this week. Compared to my next pick, which is Brian Robinson Jr., this is what Underdog or Hayden Winks would call an eruption spot. Brian Robinson Jr. over 73.5 rushing yards. He's in a very, very good Washington rushing offense, squaring off against the fourth worst run defense in the league by EPA per play. They've given up the ninth most rushing yards per game in the league. It's the New Orleans Saints. Washington's second in the league for rushing success rate and EPA. They're favored by nearly a touchdown, and they should control the majority of this game, I would imagine. Against the Saints team, they've obviously lost Derek Carr. I believe broke his hand or broke a finger. So it will be remains to be seen whether he'll be back at any point this season. But I can't imagine Spencer Rattler or I think they've both taken snaps, Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler in practice. I just can't see them being a massive threat against albeit a pretty average Washington defense, but an improving Washington defense all the same. So yeah, I just think the fact they're favored by so many points, the fact Robinson's had a pretty solid year, and Eckler is used a lot more in the passing game than he is in the running game. So yeah, taking Brian Robinson Jr.'s over of 73.5 rushing yards. And we will finish it off with my play of the week, which is Jameis Winston over 35.5 pass attempts. This is 20 to 23. All the rest are 10 to 11 standard. I really don't understand this line, to be perfectly honest. I could be talked into playing this up to 40 if there's some sort of like alt. If you can get like 40 plus attempts at 5 to 2 or something, I would play it. The Browns are the pass heaviest team in the league. They average 39.4 pass attempts per game, including an average of 42 in their last three. And they go up against a Chiefs defense, which has definitely somewhat taken a downturn recently. It has not been as watertight as last year. Obviously, they lost L'Jarius Sneed, but their strength does lie in defending the run, where they are fifth best in EPA per play in the league. The Browns' run game, meanwhile, is bottom five in the league, and while their drop back EPA per play is actually the worst across the whole season, it just doesn't stop them throwing the ball. They can't run the ball at all. Nick Chubb's coming back from a very serious injury. Remains to be seen whether he can get back to his best. Jerome Ford is sort of being used more in the passing game now anyway. And it's always just a roller coaster when Jameis is throwing the ball. Why would you not want to have something invested in watching him play if it's not just him throwing three interceptions and three touchdowns in the same game? And to be fair, the Browns, to their credit, have put up some points recently. They put up 31 against Denver, 32 against Denver, 20 on the weekend against Steelers. And while they are underdogs, the Chiefs haven't covered the spread, I believe, in 7 games. So there's definitely potential for this one to be close, but the Browns are likely to be chasing this game. And Jameis has gone over this total every game this season, except the one game that he's won. Um, he went over 40, I believe, in all the other games. So yeah, like I said, I would probably play this one up to 40, and those are my picks. So that being said, I'll quickly go through Liam's picks for this week. He's got Texans -2.5 against the Dolphins, which is his play of the week. Lions -2.5 against the Bills. Seahawks +3 against the Green Bay Packers, I believe. Player props, we've got Mike Williams over 18.5 receiving yards, Devontae Adams over 66.5 receiving yards, and Joe Mixon over 83.5 rushing yards. So I'll quickly go through mine again, just so they're all in one place. Got the Colts and Broncos going over the 43. Vikings -6.5. Titans v Bengals under 47. Devon Achan under 49.5 rushing yards. Brian Robinson over 73.5 rushing yards. And Jameis Winston over 35.5 pass attempts as my play of the week. And there we go. Those are the picks done in rapid time because I'm just here yapping to myself. Let's quickly look at TNF. I guess I'm just talking about it myself. It's Broncos Chargers in what is probably going to be one of the biggest games for the Broncos in years, depending on whether they win this week or not. I mean, even if they do win this week, it becomes less important, but it's still really important. Chargers are 3-point favorites, though it looks like it might be changing to 2.5. Total's 42. This is just really tough to call because the Chargers have been pretty watertight in divisional games this year. The defense has always been very good anyway. And Denver just, I don't know, we got thoroughly outplayed by the Chargers at home. So there's cause for concern here for me, but Bo has obviously come on a long way since that game. That game almost feels sort of reminiscent of Broncos teams of the past where they were just a bit of a mess. I think my first instinct here is to take the under of 42, and then Chargers money line is 4-6. Um, I think that's just about where I lean for that one. I'd hate picking Broncos games on the spread because either I get carried away and giddy and think we're going to win, or I sort of just don't think too scared to put my 2 cents out there. So the under is my initial lean, maybe Chargers money line, but yeah, who knows? That'll be a fun one to watch. Hopefully with a lot of divisional sort of permutations on the line. And that does conclude pick six for this week. Thank you to everyone for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.